Okay, Clinton, she damn sure took the gloves off. I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible, but there's going to be one particular point that I'm going to make.
Covering the Clinton campaign, and NBC's Peter Alexander covering the Trump campaign. NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray with all of the numbers and the analysis as well. Alex, first of all, take a look at the Democrats. So we have Bernie Sanders winning, and winning decisively. He only gets 10 more delegates, and he's welcomed by the New York media market, famously negative with the New York Daily News tabloid headline today. How does this matchup work?
Right, Henry. I mean, what a welcome to the New York primary, which is absolutely critical, make or break for Bernie Sanders. 247 delegates, and the only way he can stay on his path to the nomination is by doing well there. But the issue here, why Hillary Clinton is making such a big deal of this interview, I mean, they copied and pasted the entire thing into a fundraising email, is it plays into a lot of her pre-existing narratives that she's been trying to push on Bernie Sanders. Number one, as you saw on Morning Joe, that he's unprepared. He hasn't done his homework. Number two, on guns, which is big in and of itself. That'll help with black turnout in New York City. Hillary Clinton does very well among African Americans. But it's also an authenticity issue that they're trying to push. They're saying that he took this position against or in favor of this law to prevent, gun manufacturers from being sued for political reasons in Vermont. Kind of undercuts the idea that he's always been true to his ideals and spoken his mind. And a final point, Andrea, on this, he's also being attacked in the Jewish press in New York. This is a new one for comments he made about Israel and the war in Gaza there. So a lot of...
Now that's the point I wanted to make. Since when does a Jew ever side with a Christian against another Jew? Now I've been around for a long time, and I deal with all kinds of people, but my upbringing was with a bunch of Jewish guys in New York. And the number one rule that Jews in New York have is you never side with anybody else against another Jew. So you tell me what the hell is going on in New York with Clinton getting the Jews to side against Bernie Sanders. Not that big of a deal for them to side with her, but when she's getting them to side against Bernie Sanders, something else is going on. And it just smacks of deals being made behind closed doors in favor of Hillary Clinton. And I'm just wondering what promises she's made to the various groups in order to get them to side against one of their own.
Key demographics in the New York primary, off to a kind of a rough start for Bernie Sanders in the first day of the real road to New York.
And also with his Politico podcast with Glenn Thrush, where she says he's new to being a Democrat. He's always been very apparent about being a Democratic socialist. But again, this is a closed primary, and being a Democrat matters a lot more in New York State than it does elsewhere.
Right, Andrew, that's critical. I actually just got off the phone with a volunteer who's been working to register voters for the Sanders campaign, and she told me that her inbox gets flooded every day with people who want to vote for Bernie Sanders but realize only too late that they're not going to be able to. The registration deadline closed on March 25th. The deadline, if you were registered as an independent and you wanted to switch to a Democrat, that closed way back on October 9th. Independents have been critical to Bernie Sanders. He broke even with Clinton last night among Democrats, but he won thanks in large part to his success among independents. Not going to be able to have them in that closed primary in New York.
And then when we turn to the...
Yeah, and that's going to be the problem. Since it's a closed primary, Bernie has got to move the Hispanic and African American community, and he's got to move them in a big way, because he's not going to be able to get those independents to cast votes for him. So he's going to have. I still think he can win, but he's really got a tough road to hoe here.